Now we'll be underway with another week of the Buddy Martin Show. Wow, where's the time gone? Do you realize this will be 5 years in December? Oh, my goodness. Tonight is Meldon Law Monday. Always a good time to start it off. And we got lots to talk about tonight because we got some new things happening, and you want to hear about them, not the least of which is what's going on with the Spurrier Grind Real crowd. And we'll talk about spring football. Starts Saturday. Can you believe that? And of course, we'll have the usual cast of characters here tonight. Shane Matthews is away coaching. Will be weighing in for us here in just a moment. And also, it's Monday. That means it's the Iron Duke. Time for Fran's Beard. Stay tuned. Tell your friends and neighbors the Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to a Monday night edition of Meldon on Monday. I'm Buddy Martin. We're back again for another week. No, you just can't keep us away. Glad to be with you tonight. It's great because we got Shane Matthews with us tonight. I just saw him on TV yesterday in the XFL, and we've got spring football starting, and we'll have Lauren Meadows coming to you from just a minute. He's back from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where they named their Spurrier First Year Coach of the Year. You may have heard Sonny Dykes. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, Iron Duke. It's time for Fran's Beard. A quick message from our friends at Meldon Law, and then it's on to Shane Matthews standing by in the Orange and Blue Room. I know you have 25th anniversary of your Scholar Athlete. Maybe you ought to bring back some of your old musical buddies and put on a 40th anniversary of your music career and bring it back to the Southern Music Hall. That'd be a great reunion.
Well, actually, we did that, buddy, at the Matheson Museum in Gainesville for the next 9 months. The whole museum is turned into a retrospective of the Great Southern Music Hall. It's an interactive, beautiful photographs by famous photographer John Moran, written by a very fine journalist named Bill DeYoung, who was the entertainment editor for
Know him well and used to work with him.
Okay, so this exhibit is top notch. We hired a professional graphic designer to come in from Orlando, and it's up, it's free. Go to the Matheson Museum. It'll take you down memory lane. And what's really cool, we have all the artists listed and pictures and stories, and there's a QR code by each of the artist's picture. And you can you put your phone up there and you'll hear a song by that artist.
See, two great minds thinking alike. The only problem is you already had the idea. And I'm just remembering we talked about this once before. Well, that's great. Thanks for all the musical heritage you brought. If you want to go back deeper, next time we'll talk about way back to in the era of Bo Diddley and other musicians in the area who came from around here. Gainesville and Ocala and North Florida has some fantastic musicians and over the years. And thanks for doing your part to help preserve it, Jeffrey.
Well, thank you very much, buddy. It's a labor of love.
All right, Meldon Law, they're litigators. Check them out. They don't back down. Thanks, Jeffrey. All right, thanks, Jeffrey Meldon. Now to the Orange and Blue man, Orange and Blue Room. He's an Orange and Blue man, too. Gosh, I miss him. I don't get a chance to talk to him except on the show. Glad he could make it tonight. My buddy Shane Matthews. What's up, Shaner?
How we doing, buddy?
Shoot, man, I'm missing you. Come on home. We're ready for you. Huh? Come on.
Hey, I got about 2 months left, and I'll be back home. Can't wait.
Are you getting homesick at all? I mean,
I mean, I miss my normal routine. There's no
Yeah,
question
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, we it is what it is. So, but yeah, I miss Gainesville. There's no question about that.
Tell folks exactly what you're doing. They know you're coaching football. They got an idea. We watched you on TV yesterday. Ooh, like you're having a root canal there at one point in time, but
Well, yeah,
uh,
I'm usually pretty calm, cool, and collected, but I don't call the plays. I
yeah,
just relay the plays in,
yeah,
um, because I'm a somewhat a good communicator and try to, if something's called wrong, I try to fix it correctly.
right.
So we had a couple plays that I wasn't familiar with, to say the least. So obviously our players weren't familiar with them, and so I kind of lost it a little bit. And I guess it was on TV. I don't know, but yeah, we're a struggling ball club right now, and we'll see if there's any changes made or what we can do to improve in the next few games.
Well, it's good to see you doing something you love. I know there's growing pains. I understand that. And let me just make an assessment. As a person who's seen every single spring league, every one since beginning of mankind. All right. I go back to you want to name it, I've done it. It's Continental League, whatever.
Turn this light off.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm
Yeah. All
listening.
right.
I'm just
All
turning
right.
the light off.
All right. And just a quick observation. I'm not an expert here. You're the expert. But the brand of football's not bad. I've seen a couple different games. I mean, the players are decent. Obviously, there's some holes in every team. Uh, for the most part, I mean, it's a new system, new players, whatever. There's some entertainment in it. And it's always about, as you know, Shane, you coach position, play about the quarterback. You got to have the quarterback, right? And you have to have the special teams, which, by the way, the Guardians didn't have yesterday. But that's another story. But the quarterback situation, the quarterback position. Uh, hey, look, uh, think of who next year might be out there for you. Didn't Carson Wentz get cuts today? Get cut? Maybe he'll be out there next year. Bring him over
Yeah,
to.
I mean, quarterback's not. We got more problems than just quarterback.
Yeah, no, I get it, but that's the
Yeah,
showcase position.
it's. I'm telling you, the XFL has been nothing but first class. It's owned by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and his
Yeah,
ex-wife, who's actually more financially stable than The Rock, believe it or not. And then Redbird Capital. A lot of people, their group has a lot of stuff up in the Northeast. They own the Yes Network, things like that. And then Under Armour is another founding partner. So, look, they got a TV contract with ESPN, ABC, and FX, and been pretty good crowds everywhere. St. Louis has yet to play at home, buddy,
hmm
but they've sold out the wherever the Rams used to play. I forgot what that dome's called now, Trans World Dome or whatever. But they've
hmm
sold it out, so it's going to be about 60 something thousand people there. But we have
really,
three teams.
60,000. Wow.
Maybe more than that. Yeah, the St. Louis is they always back their sports
Yeah,
programs.
yeah,
Houston's had good crowds down there, but it's been great. Not there's nothing to complain about. Whether people want to watch it or not, that's up to them. But there's some decent. It's football. A lot of different rules that everyone's still learning. But yeah, so there's three teams that are winless. Us, the Zucker out at Seattle, they haven't won a game either. Um, and then Vegas is 0-2 as well. So
yeah,
8 regular season games left. We'll see what happens.
yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out why everybody's having a hard time making conversions, but I mean, I don't seem like
It's
everybody's.
hard. It's hard,
Yeah,
buddy. It's
yeah,
hard from the 5 yard line, 10 yard line. Even if
yeah,
you go from the 2 yard line, it's tough.
yeah. Yeah, I got you on that. So, but we're football guys, you and me, and we like football all the time, and we talk about it when we're not working in it. We're talking about it all the time. So, yeah, I'll keep trying, and I wish you the very best. And I know I know you don't like to lose. Nobody does, and
Hey, it's I can only do so much.
yeah, yeah,
Like I said, I'm trying to take care of my job, and
mhm,
whatever happens, happens.
yeah. So I saw you with your clipboard, and I don't have a clipboard. Hey, I was going to do my impersonation of your sunglasses and your hat and whatever, and I recognize some of the call outs. Florida, Florida, Florida. I don't know.
Well, like I said, those aren't those are some words that I tried to help shorten some things for our team to go faster.
Right.
But like I said, unfortunately, I don't get to call the plays.
Sure.
I try to make suggestions here and there, but doesn't go over great at times. So
yeah. Well, anyway, good luck to you. Keep your dauber up, man. Come on, we need you to get.
Oh, I'm perfect. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine.
Okay. Good.
I just feel bad for our players at times.
All right. Well, we'll be following you and rooting for you. Seems like the crowds get kind of enthusiastic at times. You know, they seem like they get all jacked up on a few plays, so they're waiting for it. Let's shift gears for a second and talk about the Florida Gators, who start spring practice Saturday. You believe that? Saturday? Yeah. And a lot of questions there. We've been talking about it now for we talk about it all the time, trying to figure out who the squad is, who the coaches are, and what have you. I know you haven't had a chance to study them up, but I will say this, that it's going to be an interesting phase of identity for them to figure out who they are, because we can't figure out who they are, Shane.
Well, I think that's the way of the world these days. You're going to see people changing year in and year out, whether it's players, coaches, administrators, what have you. Look, I'm going to hang my hat on Billy Napier and his staff having the best players on our roster last year were guys they were responsible for, and they're going to have to. That's what I'm going to wait and see. I haven't written Graham Mertz off. I know a lot of Gator fans have, but you never know. You never know. We've said many times he was very highly touted coming out of high school. Didn't play great at not Ohio State, at Wisconsin. But there's a lot of reasons that could have happened. So be glad we have a quarterback. Hell, some teams don't have any. We could have worse, and he may have a great year. So time will tell.
For sure. Well, I just wanted to remind folks that Shane is being brought to you by Titan MRI. Check them out. We'll give you a little information in just a minute about that. And I can tell you firsthand, if you want a scan or you need something done, like MRIs, be sure and check price, because I know I've had a couple lately and nothing compares to that. So one of Shane's sponsors on his show as well. All right, Shane, I know I heard McElroy talking about you yesterday. He talked to you. I know they made a Spurrier reference, etc. And Cole Kublik, who I think does a very good job on offensive line. What are they asking you about Billy Napier off to the side?
We didn't speak anything about Florida football yesterday. I spoke with Tom Hart for quite a while before the game. We were just talking about the XFL and things like that, because I see those guys up in the press box during the season.
Right.
Spoke with McElroy and Cole Kublik real quick. So no, we didn't talk hardly anything about.
Okay.
Actually, I take that back. Tom Hart and I did talk about Gator football briefly. Just asked me my thoughts of it. I said, look, I'm excited. I think Billy's the guy. Time will tell, but I like everything he's done so far with our program.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios here to chew on for conversational purposes only. For pure entertainment, no gambling allowed. One of the things in our conversation last week with some of the guys like Ben Troop and Lauren Meadows and other guys, we talked about two things. One is the amazing thing, I think I missed references here, is that these coaches who come in, and I understand it's hard. Billy's got a cast of 100. He's got new coaches everywhere, NIL players everywhere, deals flying around. It's hard. But it came to my attention through unimpeachable sources that the defensive coordinator, Patrick Toney, who had just left and gone to Arizona, as I call him now, rent-a-coach, because they're here today and gone tomorrow, that he had been here and never met Steve Spurrier. Now, I brought that up to a couple of friends of mine on a regional show. These guys are out of Alabama on Saturday. They freaked out. They couldn't believe it. I mean, the man worked in the building where Steve Spurrier was, and he never met.
That's not necessarily true. He was in the other building. Coach Spurrier's in the stadium.
All right, same organization.
Yeah. Well, I've never met Patrick Toney either, and he lives in my neighborhood.
Well, there you go. So what's wrong with that picture?
These guys don't get out. In today's world of college football, they don't really have any type of social life or anything. Um, I don't know a whole lot of people over there, and I do the damn radio, buddy. And I'm in the hotel. I'm on the team plane with them. They don't know who I am when I load the plane. I don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way of the world now.
Well, I don't like it. Okay, and a lot of the people that I talked to didn't like it, and I don't think you have to be best friends. But if you don't get a chance to meet one of the greatest college football coaches in history, working right there with you, then go to his damn restaurant and say hello. That's what I'm saying. Okay, it ain't that hard. I'm sorry. So that seemed to stick with a lot of people. It did, and I get it. It's a different game. It's a different game, but still, I wonder, is it connected or not? I mean, look, you helped build that stadium. Shane Matthews put bricks in that stadium. Without what you did, those first years in the 90s, there'd be no Gator National Championships. And if they're walking right past, I mentioned this yesterday, name the most famous sports writer you ever met, Shane, or ever heard of. Any you ever heard of? Who is it?
That I ever heard.
Dan Jenkins, Grantland Rice, Farman Fisher. I mean, just name.
I don't know any of them.
Okay, well, they're all
Never
legends.
heard of any of them.
They're all legends. But for you, in terms of, I said to one of my guys in the press box, it's like you sitting next two seats down from Grantland Rice, the famous. I never knew Grantland Rice before.
I don't know who that is either.
Well, but I'm saying, but you're not a sports writer.
Right.
This guy is a sports writer, sitting next to and not saying hello to him or recognize. I mean, a legend. I mean, who's your all-time favorite quarterback? All time.
Well, I mean, obviously, I grew up. Archie Manning was my guy.
Okay,
because
if
I
Archie
knew
Manning
him.
was in your room, would you make it a point to say hi to him?
Well, he came to
I
our
know you
house
know
when
him
was
now.
growing
I
up,
know
so-
that, but I'm saying if you hadn't, then you get what I'm saying. Don't
Yeah.
tell them. You understand what I'm talking about. Archie Manning, you're going to say hi to him if you didn't know him, right?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I get it, but I mean, I'm sure there's multiple coaches that have coached at Florida that have not gone and talked to Coach Spurrier. I mean, I hear where you're coming. I understand what you're saying, but it is what it is, right? I mean, that's just the way of the world.
I
It's
understand
different.
it's a different world and all that, but we don't have to like it. All right,
Yeah.
just something we don't have to like it. It's cold and personal, and I'm sorry. It's just something that sticks in my craw. Now, all right, as we go to getting ready to look, I'm making up my list. The University of Florida is going to allow me to interview some of these players. It's a different system, and I'm making my list up for people. I'm going to ask to get, because it's what you have to do, and you will too if you get back to do your show. You won't be back in time. But I mean, one of the first people I asked for was Ricky Pearsall. Now, know that we'd all like to have Graham Mertz and whatever, but they're not letting us interview the transfers. More rules. On that team, are there one or two players that you like to talk to or interview? So pick three guys. Who would you pick?
I mean, I think it'd be cool to talk to Travis Etienne or Trevor. I mean,
Trevor,
wait, which one? Yeah,
no, Trevor. Yeah,
But
Trevor.
because he's got a brother that plays
Sure.
pro ball.
Right.
They play the same position. I
Right.
just think, I mean, that's pretty good genes right there. I think that
Yeah.
would be a good story.
Yeah. Montreal Johnson, a few others like that too. I think are the ones that.
I think what would be cool, buddy. You should get the. Although we lost Osiris Torrance, he's gone.
Right.
But
I interviewed him
Montreal
last year. I had him last year.
Well, I'm just saying, if you could just have the Louisiana transfers and just say, hey,
Yeah.
what was the biggest adjustment for you going from
Yeah.
playing in the Sun Belt to the SEC?
Great idea. Great idea. We'll certainly work on that for sure. Well, we did our little panel discussion last week with our guys on Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday, Ben Troop, Vance Beard, and Lauren Meadows. And you can do this, and then we'll let you go. No, you got to get out of here. But let's just say on a base, if you have a baseline, and that by whatever system we're using the rating, that looking at Florida football right now as a stock, if it were a stock, whatever, that the number is what's the number out of 10 that you would assign to that. And we just arbitrarily took a 7.5. It doesn't mean it wins, it's just a number. out of the seven number of terms of projections in the future, 7.5 out of 10. Now, last week I asked the guys if they would now re-rate that number or tell me what they would do. And everybody except Franz stuck to the 7.5. I've said a 6.5. I think Ben said a 7. Laura Meta said a 5. Now, it doesn't mean anything, just an arbitrary number. It's right. It's right. It's a right now number. We'll see what it is next week, whatever. Would it be unfair to ask you to give us a number if the base was 7 and it was 10 and we have assigned a 7.5 to when you were shopping to buy the stock? Well, how would you rate that stock right now?
That's a tough question. I'm going to be different than everybody. I'm going to go 8, buddy. 8.
Wow. 8. Well, good for you. I like that. I'm glad to see somebody stepping up.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Good job. All right, Shaner. Any shows this week?
Yeah, you gonna come on in the morning? This is
when you ask me, I'm on. I just have to know when you want me on.
The players' day off is tomorrow, so okay. I don't have to have meetings. Our meetings don't start till like 9 o'clock. So I'm gonna have you on, buddy, because you boost the ratings.
Man. Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll way up. But they see me, they go, "Uh-oh, wait, he's on again." Oh, guys, get somebody else. Shane, I always love coming on with you. I always love having you on. Be well, my friend. Take care of yourself. We can't wait to get you home. All right?
All right, buddy. Y'all take care. Appreciate it.
Shane Matthews, brought to you by Titan MRI. Thanks, buddy. Get that Titan MRI spot in there right now for Shane. Hold on one second.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff. Let's do this. Let's go right on out to our hotline. Let me post this picture first. Our intrepid reporter, a guy who does it all, man. He was kind enough to go out to Spurrier's tonight and say congratulations to this guy, Sonny Dykes, your first-year coach of the year from TCU, as voted on by the Steve Spurrier panel. He gets the Steve Spurrier Award tonight. And the guy who was there and who got to see all this, he gets to do all the cool stuff around. He's one of the cool guys. Our good buddy and our intrepid reporter and friend. By the way, Marcia just made him what he is and made him successful today. So hopefully she will always be there behind him because he needs her, for crying out loud. Good evening, Lord Meadows. How you doing?
How you doing, sir?
You know it's true. That's why you're laughing.
Yeah. Can't do nothing without it.
No, I got to. You got to have it. Yeah. Well, that's a nice picture of Coach Dykes, and I got a couple others. I'm going to throw up one or two here. Here's one here. This is, I think this is Mike Griffin on the left, and Chris Doring, Sonny Dykes, and the HBC right there. Right? Do you see that?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right.
Mike Griffin from Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Right.
Obviously, Chris Doring and Coach Dykes and the HBC.
Full credit to Mike, who's a bit of a controversial guy to Gator fans. He put that together, that award for the Football Writers of America, and he helped champion whoever thought a Bulldog guy would do that for Coach Spurrier, but he did. So congratulations to him. And finally, there's one more photo here I'm going to put up. Nice job on your pictures, by the way. And there you are. That's Dykes and Spurrier. Spurrier's sitting down like me as an old man. He can't stand up too long, and there's Dykes. What does Sonny have to say about the award?
He was very honored to receive the award. It was kind of funny because, Coach Spurrier, in typical fashion, talked about the great year that he had, and then kind of ribbed him a little bit on the fact that in the final game, it didn't go as well as Coach Dykes and his squad had expected. But, then in typical Spurrier fashion again, he, talked about losing to a team in red that the Gators lost to. in '95, in the final game, but then kind of said, maybe it's something to getting blown out by a team in red because the next year you could follow up by blowing out a team in the national championship game. So just kind of gave him, was real comical, obviously, and then Coach Dykes, talked about, just really having a lot of respect for Coach Spurrier and the way that his teams played at Florida. They were always tough, always resilient, and obviously a lot of, 99% of the coaches I think in America look up to Coach Spurrier and really appreciate what he's done for the game of football. And you could just see, the way that Coach Dykes handled himself. And then he and I had a chance to talk a little bit. I think he thinks they're going to be pretty good on defense again. They got to find a quarterback and a couple things, but I think they have 8 or 12 starters back on defense. And he was pretty excited about his football team, but just really pleased to be there, honored to be there, as well as Drake May, and obviously the respect.
What kind of guy is Drake May?
Real down to earth, real unassuming. He kind of just kind of stood off by himself. He didn't really just kind of was in awe of the whole thing. I think he really enjoyed. You saw he and Coach Spurrier kind of walking around, and he was showing him the trophies, things like that. And I think Coach Spurrier kind of ribbed him a little bit when the Dukies beat Carolina to win that ACC championship 41-0. He's kind of giving him some business about that. But I think he just really was just pleased to be around, a bunch of, former great players and Coach Spurrier and Coach Stoops and, and Coach Dyke said, hey, there is something called the transfer portal. We do need a quarterback. So that was kind of cool. But just a, real unassuming young man, was going to head back for workouts in the morning. And then they said that he, was a pretty decent basketball player. And, so he didn't miss his intramural basketball game. I think that's tomorrow night. So they said if he would have had to miss the intramural basketball game, he might have missed the awards dinner because that's pretty big stuff at UNC. But just a real nice young man, very gracious, and was definitely happy to be honored for sure.
Sounds good. Sonny Dykes, the kind of guy I'd like to have a beer with. I just think I never met him, but I think I'd like to have a beer with him. So
yeah, you would. You really enjoy him. Very humble. Really all three honorees, Coach Stoops. It's always refreshing, and you know as well as I do. I know you probably spoke with Coach Stoops, about the book and things like that. But just really the respect that he has for Coach Spurrier and the way that he patterned his program at Oklahoma, just really all three guys were very deserving of the awards. And, Drake May probably next year could be the number one pick in the draft coming out, depending on who's picking first and that kind of thing. But definitely could be a top, first round talent and someone who, threw for, I think, 5,000 yards, but also rushed for 700. So, definitely somebody who can affect the game in both ways. Right. And, just a really, really good evening. They've really done a nice job with getting, it was outside this year. Last year, it was kind of inside in the restaurant for a minute. Then they moved outside under a nice tent there in the lawn at Celebration Point, and really was a nice affair. A lot of former Florida players.
Typical Freddie Weeby production. No stern left unturned,
most definitely.
Right?
Most definitely.
He does a terrific job, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, just kudos to everybody, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not work covering it for sure. So yeah,
good man. So. Yeah, well, Coach Stoops and I go way back. I've known him ever since he came to work in Florida. And we've done a few things together and stories. And my favorite story is, I won't get into it too much, but he tells a story about when he first came to Florida. And he was coaching one-on-ones and versus ones, best on best. And Spurrier had Ike and Riedel and whatever, and he put him out there on the field and boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown. He just wore him out. Bobby said, what have I gotten into here, man? Anyway, he quickly found out you got to strap it on when you go up against Spurrier. And he and Spurrier became good friends. And then I love the story he told about Spurrier's laid-back style. He said who else? Says, we're getting ready to play Tennessee in the biggest game of the year, one of the biggest of the century. And we're he says we're over in Crescent Beach on a Friday, and he says we're out there in the water with our on our whatever their own boards, whatever. And he said, Coach looked at me and said, "What do you think those Tennessee coaches are doing today, Coach?"
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, he's in the ocean. Prairie love to rub it in. So, all right, so good job on that, Lauren. And I just wanted to follow back on something we said the other day. We did our rating, if you remember, at the end of our show Thursday night. It was quite telling. We talked about it on the phone today. We all had different things, different opinions. And the basis of it, for those hearing this the first time, was evaluating Florida as a stock. Florida football was a stock. And the number on it was 7.5, meaning out of 10. Nothing to do with the wins. That was the number on the stock, meaning up or down, obviously. And versus what it was and what it would be, what would you rate it? As I recall, Ben rated it, I believe, a 6.5 now. No, 6. No, I'm sorry. Ben rated it 7. I know that I said 6.5. Franz Beard said 7.5. He's still with the 7.5, and you said 5.
Right.
And I get it. So we're all looking at different things. And so I asked Shane, I said, okay, tell me based on what you know, well, what do you think it is? And he said, I give it an 8.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting he said that. So,
well, I will say this. I did have some candid conversations with some people that I at least would consider that are a little bit closer to the program. So I'm gonna up it to maybe a 6, and only because to a person, the people that I spoke to tonight, some of the people that are involved in the program or the different parts and different things like that, really feel like Billy Napier is the right guy for the job. And the things that he's doing, the way that he's going about things, everybody seemed to be positive. So I'll kind of give myself a slap on the wrist for maybe being a little bit too pessimistic. So based on the information I received tonight, I'll go a 6.
All right, let's go back and see where Franz is. Get him out of the orange and blue room and see where he stands at this point in time. Franz, are you sticking with your 7.5, buddy? Good evening to you.
I don't see any reason to change it. I think 7.5 is reasonable. I think that this team, they made a big score getting Armstrong. And I heard this crap about, oh my gosh, another playbook. No, it isn't. It's going to be the exact same defensive play stuff. This guy grew up under Ron Roberts, who Patrick Toney grew up under, and it's the same thing. Only I think he's got a better way of running it based on sack and interception numbers that I see from Southern Miss. They really get after it. They go after the turnovers. They're very aggressive. And they get to the quarterback. They had like 6 or 7 different guys with at least 4 sacks this year. Florida's leading sack guy, had 4.5. So, I think he's the right guy. I think the interesting thing is going to be this, and as I'm hearing it, I think this is what's going to happen. I don't think Bateman is leaving. I think Bateman is going to stay here. What I think they're going to do, however, is they're going to hire Kirk Benedict as the special teams guy. He has worked with Napier before. He has been the special teams coordinator for several years at Duke, and they had great special teams. He's working under Kirby now up there. And Kirby and Billy Napier are pretty close buddies, from what I understand. So Armstrong, where did he work? Where did he do a little bit of apprentice work? With Kirby. Kirk Benedict, where does he do a little bit? With Kirby. So I think that instead of a tight ends coach that they're going to bring in, I think they'll they'll bring in somebody who is more of a special teams coordinator. And that's what I think. I also think I'm hearing more and more people saying Ike Hilliard's going to be the guy. Now, how true that is, or is that just wishful thinking on the part of a lot of nostalgic Gators? I don't know. But it would make sense. Ike needs a job. He's spent a lot of years in the NFL. He's coached in the NFL. Was the wide receivers coach at Auburn this past year. He's got a name that still resonates throughout the Gator Nation, and I think throughout the state of Florida. A lot of people remember him. A lot of coaches who are high school coaches remember the name Ike Hilliard.
Well, I think it would be a big recruiting jump for him to have a guy like Hilliard there. He's really well respected. So I'll say, Lauren, before I let you go, and we'll talk more about this on Thursday. We'll get our orange and blue buds and whatever. We're going to be getting players as we go. Hopefully today, I made my official request for Ricky Pearsall. I don't know if we're going to get him or not, but that's who I asked for. But the word was, when I asked about getting Graham Mertz, no transfer people. So we'll take what we can get. But that we've asked for Pearsall. We'll see if it works out that way. I think we learned a lot, my friends, and Lauren last year with the 19 players being interviewed from Gator Collective, which I think was very interesting.
Yeah, I think it was. You and I've talked. I think that there's some things that need to be ironed out when it comes to player availability as well as coach availability. But we'll continue to work with the parameters that were being given by the program. But yeah, you definitely. I think it really helped ramp up the enthusiasm for the season. Having some of the players on, like you said, you got to know them, got to know about mama, daddy, sister, brother, different people in their lives that have helped them get where they're going, and we'll continue to work that angle. But I think it's just one of those things where as things kind of evolve, there may be a situation where down the road we don't have to worry about maybe we don't have to necessarily work that angle through the program anymore, or those kind of things. But for right now, that's where we are. But I think definitely the listeners and even us alike that got to spend some time with these young men and women from some of the other sports. I mean, it's been really, really fun to have them on and get to know them. And like I said, I think it allows the fans to get a little closer to these young men, feel like that they really know them. And I think it really helps with the enthusiasm as the season draws closer and just makes things a lot more fun for those that really like football. So,
right. Freddie Weavy jumping in there to point out that he's got the Spurrier menu has the Ike Hilliard catch of the day. It's on the menu, just in case folks haven't eaten out there. That's what friends.
I've had the Ike Hilliard catch of the day.
Yeah. I was going to get friends buy me dinner out there one night. We'll find out what that is. He'll probably go for a cheeseburger. He's a cheeseburger. Which they aren't bad either, by the way. So
no, they're not.
All right, Lauren.
They have great French fries. I got to tell you what, they have absolutely fantastic French fries.
Yes, they do. I agree. Great French fries.
You haven't really dined until you've gone through to Louisiana with on back roads with friends who drive 100 miles to get a bowl of whatever. I mean, he feels like he's a Cajun expert on more gourmet food. So
until you have stopped going up I-55, heading out of New Orleans, and there's a little island that kind of connects where Lake Maurepas and Lake Pontchartrain go. One of them's there's a little canal that goes there, and right on that canal is a thing called Manchac Restaurant, a little fishing village called Manchac. And I don't like catfish. By and large, I do not like catfish. Never have. I will eat catfish there until I explode. I've never eaten them like they do them there. My gosh, you go there and they have a special on the menu for crawfish and catfish. And I got to tell you what, Anybody who's ever been there and ate there, they rolled them out of there when it was over because they
Well,
couldn't
friends,
walk.
it's sacrilegious if you're from the South and you don't eat catfish, especially in Louisiana, man. You got to eat those catfish. They're really good ones. And they got to be fresh. And Lauren, I don't know if you eat them or not, but they're for the
I love cat.
Yeah.
If they come off the farm, no. If they're
I'm not
fresh,
talking about
if they're
farm.
fresh,
No,
if they're
no.
fresh caught, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like
But
any
that's
of
the
the farms.
problem with most restaurants. That's why, like most of the restaurants, you can order catfish, and they're farm raised, and I don't like them. You can tell the difference.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you buy me the catch today at Spurrier's next time we're there. Okay, Lauren, have a good night, buddy. Take care.
And
Thank you.
the one thing I was going to say too,
Yeah.
I did hear this, and I don't know if this is when it comes to receiver coach. Somebody asked. I did hear somebody said they may the Keesaw that's on the staff now, Eric Keesaw, could be another name if I Kill You doesn't necessarily pan out. So
Okay.
Eric Keesaw. So
All right, bringing in good information, fresh off the Spurrier First Year Award event out at Spurrier's Place. Freddie Weavy doing another great job. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it, buddy. Talk to you
All right,
tomorrow
guys.
night on trivia tomorrow night. All right, so Francis. Well, it was quite a weekend, and you saw some bombastic baseball. Man, home runs flying out of there everywhere. Basketball, not so much. We kind of knew what we were going to get there. They had a little bit of a flash going there in the second half, and then just Vanderbilt bulldozed them. And we're looking forward to this week because we got a couple of things going on. Number one, we got spring game, and we're going to be talking a lot about it. We're going to talk about it all week long. And then number two, we got that big. Dan Bonnet's the ultimate fan of gymnastics, as you know. He does a ton of stuff, and he says this is the meat of the century, the national championship in Oklahoma City, Florida versus Oklahoma, and Dan will be covering for us out there. Now I know you've covered some gymnastics, and
I've been there. I've been at every home. I've been
I
at
know.
every home meet. I've been at nationals and stuff like that before.
And I think you
great
really
sport.
have. I know you were very high on them and have been, and told me. And you said earlier in the year it could be maybe the greatest team of all time. So it's going to be exciting.
Here's what's going to happen, and I don't know that it will this week. Jenny has been kind of sandbagging a little bit.
Jenny Rowland, right, the coach.
Yep, she has been sandbagging a little bit. Leah Clapper did an exhibition the other night. Leah Clapper is like 8-time All-American in the past. She's big time. Riley McCusker, who was part of the national team, is a bar specialist, went on there the other night, did the anchor spot on the bars and did a 9.95. Morgan Hurd, we've only seen her a couple times. She'll be ready by SECs. 2017 world champion, 2018 silver medalist at the Worlds. They're going to load up the lineup. Savannah Schoenhauer, she'll be ready for the SECs as well. Another one who's had some 10s before, All-American. The lineup will be solid as a rock when the SECs get here in a couple weeks. This is going to be a big meet, and Florida's got enough to compete. I don't know if they can win in Norman without Clapper, without Morgan, without these. But I don't think Jenny's so worried about this. I think she wants to go out there, compete, have a great score. They're going to try to win, of course. But it'll give them something to measure their progress with. And the big thing is going to be this. SEC, NCAAs. If they've got everybody healthy, SECs, NCAAs, they'll waste the opposition, including Oklahoma.
Okay. You heard it here first. Friends, I know you're a little bit of a golf fan, and I'm going to shift to this before I go to spring training, spring practice, which is, by the way, David Baldoff wants that Saturday, starts Saturday. And that is that the aside from the baseball, there was another sport going on this week, and I saw it for the first time. I just want to comment on it, and that is the new golf league, Live Golf, which, as you know, is involves a bunch of players who jumped over there, and I say a bunch. They had their first televised match that I've ever seen on CW this week, and I tried to watch it. And I must say that I don't see how it's going to make it. They got the good players in the format. I can't. It's crazy, the team thing. I tried to watch it for an hour and a half. I'll try again. We'll see. So then I watched the XFL, and by comparison, it was like watching the Super Bowl compared to trying to watch that goofy golf and live. And of course, as you know, the situation for the XFL is going to have to step it up a little bit. But the crowds are pretty good. I talked to Shane earlier. Have you watched either, friends?
No. Ask me if I'm going to.
No, I won't have to. I know the answer. So you're not going to watch any of the golf or any of the football?
Golf doesn't begin until the Masters.
No. All right.
When they open the gates to Augusta National, golf season begins. Until then, we don't watch golf.
Well, I think there's someone to disagree with you about the Players' Championship being before it again, which I think is pretty significant. But anyway, okay, you're entitled to your opinion. So, all right, David Baldo says Koepka said he can't compete with the PGA Elite. I guess there's a show on now. What's it called? Not Downswing. What's it called? I watched a couple of them. Somebody help me out here. It's like almost like Hard Knocks. It's golf. I watched two of them, and one of them Koepka was in, and they're giving you pretty good insights to the players. In a year when all of a sudden the dynamics of golf have changed a lot. Anyway, just interesting, I think. And some of the guys that watched it. Full Swing. Thank you, Robert. I knew somebody would say it's called Full Swing, and it's on. It is on. I think it's Netflix. I believe it is. So worth watching if you're in that kind of TV. All right, friends, get your roster out. It's time to go to work. It's spring ball time, and my late friend, the great Jones Ramsey, who nobody's ever heard of, but was the SID of Texas for many, many years. Always my favorite quote. It says there's two kinds of football, two things: football and spring football, and that's it as far as sports are concerned. so now we've got spring football going, and what are we going to be able to find out, friends, when we get through this? This period of whatever it is? And the spring game, I think, is on April 13th or something like that.
It's on a Thursday night, which is ridiculous. But Bear Bryant was associated with this, and I don't know if he actually said it or not. He said basketball is a great sport. It helps keep people interested till spring football.
Yeah, and also, you're right. He did, and also he said to the professor who talked about how the value that his class brought to the university. He said when your class draws 85,000, come and talk to me. Whatever. So.
Yeah. That was about a chemistry teacher. He said when you can draw 85,000 for a chemistry test, he said, come talk to me.
Yeah. So what are we going to see here? You just heard Lauren talking about his adjustment a little bit upward toward his take, and based on what he's hearing from coaches and people. And you talked about it. You've been kind of steady at it the whole time. You think it is where it is, and we'll see what the season brings. But I know we all have the same questions about the quarterbacks and about whatever. I just want to see the personnel. I mean, because there's so many unknowns, and I don't ever remember a spring. Do you remember a spring with so many unknowns on the roster?
Yeah, I do. In fact, Zook's first spring, so many unknowns there because we didn't know about him as a coach, for one thing. I mean, he came in, never had any head coaching experiences. First spring with Charlie Pell, absolute. My gosh, Florida's personnel that he inherited. He had Scott Brantley, and he had a whole bunch of freshmen, and there wasn't a whole lot else. Another really big question, and the first spring coming off of probation. My gosh, they had been cut down to like 12 scholarships a year for 2 or 3 years, and coming back off of that, it was really, really unknown. So we've seen Florida make transitions before. This is different in one respect, buddy, because I think this is going to be a spring, whereas we may think there's a lot of unknowns. I think Billy Napier has a good idea about his roster, about who he has, who he's retained on his roster, as opposed to who he inherited last year. Last year was a brand new situation for him and all his coaches, and I think they spent a good portion of the year evaluating people and trying to figure out who's going to fit where and who really is going to fit into the long-term plans. And I think they did that. I think one of the least appreciated things about 6 and 7, and there are very few things to appreciate, but one of the things that I think that could be appreciated is the fact that Billy spent last year really getting a good handle on who he's got and what he's got. For example, last spring we didn't know that Austin Barber, for example, was going to turn into a stud of a tackle, and he's going to be the left tackle this year. And I think he's going to be a step up at left tackle. Last year we had questions in a lot of different places, and we ended up seeing a lot of answers there. I think that he spent a lot of last year evaluating, and I've been told by people who were there in Lafayette when he took over at Louisiana that year one, he really was letting people play it out and figure out who could stay and who couldn't. The next year that he was there were 31 people on that roster who could have been back who weren't. When they stepped out on the field in September of 2019, 31 different new faces out there. I think we're going to see more new faces. I think we're going to see some more attrition here. I don't think it'll be as bad as what we saw before, but I think we'll have 8 to 10 more guys who are gone this year, and I think it'll open him up for 8 to 10 guys in the transfer portal. So he knows what he's got this year coming back. And I think he knows what he got coming in the portal too. I thought it was a measured portal response. He didn't go wholesale like some of these schools went out there and just went wholesale. And it was almost like they were throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping some of it will stick. I think he has had a more measured response. He had like 7 that he brought in from the transfer portal a year ago. He's got 10 so far this year, but look at what he's got. He's got 3 offensive linemen. He's got 3 linebackers. He has 2 defensive linemen, and he has a running back that gives him a really short yardage guy. This guy that he brought in from Tulane is a low to the ground guy that you're going to, 3rd and 2, he's going to move the pile. And then you got Graham Mertz. And of course, Graham Mertz is the big question mark. I think everybody would agree that he did well with the other 9 positions. It's that one position that has everybody questioning him. I mean, Matt Hayes has written some excoriating comments about Graham Mertz. I don't know. Maybe Matt will be proven true on this, but I think that you don't go for unless Graham Mertz had all of the potential coached out of him in high school. I don't think you go from like a 5-star quarterback to a next to nothing guy unless there's some sort of disconnect there, whether it's the system fitting the player fitting the system, the player fitting the teammates, you name it. A lot of questions like that. And was he well coached at Wisconsin? From what I read into it, no, he wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that he was that well coached. Now, we've seen it too many times, buddy, you and I both over the years, a guy that has been who had great potential, is poorly coached, and he never recovers from the bad coaching. So that's something to question, and that's something we're going to have to watch carefully. I know a lot of people have been telling me, you guys are paying too much attention to the quarterbacks. No, we're not. You know, of all the positions in all of sports, this is the one that has to be. You know, because he's the guy that handles the ball on every offensive snap. He is the guy, and it all runs through him. Baseball, you know, you can have great pitchers, but guess what? You got to have those 8 guys in the field with him, etc., like that. And you're not going to strike out everybody. So they're going to hit the ball sometime. I mean, even Hurston Waldrop the other night had a couple balls really jacked off of him. He only gave up 2 hits, but he had a couple hits, balls that were hit really, really hard off of him. Yeah. So you don't always a great pitcher can't just totally dominate. I mean, I've only seen one year when I thought that every game he pitched was a mismatch, and that was Bob Gibson in '68 when he had a 1.12 ERA and threw 13 shutouts. I thought, and maybe Steve Carlton the year he won 27 games for a team that only won 59. Those guys were mismatches, but for the most part, it doesn't happen in baseball. It doesn't happen in basketball, but it does in football. You better have that guy that when he handles the ball, you know what's going to happen, and it's going to be the real question.
Well said. Well, we'll see what happens. It's pretty intriguing. It would be very sweet if he turned it around and got 8 or 9 wins. That would be a very sweet season. Because of all the seasons I've covered, as much as I love '96 things, I'll never forget the Super Sauce of '69. How great that was when nobody was expecting anything, and we got Camelot. That was probably my favorite season of all time. So when you don't expect it, it's a lot more fun. And
I was there that Houston game, and you got to admit that one game of all the games we've ever covered in Florida football, Houston ranks right up there. That's one of the 5 best games in Florida history.
Yeah, I could make a case for it being the best because of what it was when it was.
Yeah, but, I think so. I think so too. We can make a case for the 2006 national championship because
of course
Florida. Everybody had Florida losing by getting killed.
Well, the national championship game in FSU was. One day we'll do our ratings and we'll do all that. All right, my friend, you take care. Good stuff. Keep writing it like you're writing it. If you're not reading Franz Beard, you ain't doing it right. You got to check him out. We're slowly graduating upward to more and more people and who are subscribers. We're very thankful at Gator Bait that you folks keep us going and keep the lights on. I'm able to give friends enough money to buy a Whataburger there once a week, and
we don't have a Whataburger here in Gainesville. That's why you give me enough money for Whataburger.
Exactly. But he's right. It's great stuff, and we have some young people who are coming along, and we're excited about what we're doing, and we thank everybody for their contributions. And thank you for reading and subscribing. Francis, have a good week, my friend. We'll talk to you on Thursday on the show, okay?
Take care, buddy.
The great Franz Beard, folks. Iron Duke is always spices things up, so. All right, I just want to tell you, round up this night by telling you thank you to my guests, of course, and Shane Matthews and Lauren Meadows, and, of course, friends. And I want to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law we talked about, and obviously Meldon Law's been a sponsor with us for a long time. We also want to thank Titan MRI and then those folks at Renstar. Renstar Medical Research has been sponsoring this program for a long, long time. And just looking at tonight, updated information for them. They talk about them being a patient-centered clinical research facility. They bring cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect our community. And since their inception in 1998, they've participated in more than 700 clinical research trials, continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies. So If you want to know more about how you can be a part of this, you might be able to take part in some of these clinical trials. Go to their website, renstart.net, and check out what they got. It'll tell you how you can apply. In some cases, there's compensation for time and travel. And if you haven't been there, well, you ought to. And so they're looking for volunteers at RedStar now for people who want to be part of the clinical trials. So go to their website and check it out and let us know how you do. By the way, there's a number down there, 352-629-5800, 352-629-5800. RedStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Have a great night, folks. See you back tomorrow night here with David Whitley and other surprises. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. We'll talk to you then.